When it comes to coaching, it's obviously a sport of inches and focus. How much do you think is mental, if you could break it down into percentage, and how much is it physical talent when it comes to gymnastics?
Well, I think you've got to obviously have a degree of physical talent, but ours is a performance sport, and ultimately, we're fortunate we're able to recruit talented athletes who have been coached well before they get here, and and not that we don't work hard on the technical part and continue to help them get better in that way, and even teach them new things. I mean, we want to do that, and that's the fun part of coaching. But the other side of what we do is we really work hard and try to expose them to the mental side of training and help them understand that everything that's true about technical training is also true about mental training. There are some very specific things you can do to get better at that and improve at that. And I think at the highest levels, that's really what makes the difference.
What are some of those things? What are some of those technical aspects that you guys work on?
Well, I mean, we work hard. First, we try to evaluate what their mental strengths and weaknesses are. Concentration, anxiety, all of those kinds of things, and then we try to, create training methods that they can use to, help accomplish that. So, I mean, everything from imagery. We do a lot with imagery. We do a lot with video and applying video and imagery and those kinds of things. We do a lot with ritualization, so that training feels more like competition and competition feels more like training. And whether you're in your gym or somebody else's gym or at the national championships, there are certain common things that makes you feel like there's more similarities than differences. So I mean, those are some of the things. I mean, there's such a wide variety of things you can do, but what you've really got to do is identify weaknesses or things you want to work on, and then develop specific things that you do consistently, day after day after day after day after day, just like you would in technical training or strength training, and over time you get better.
So with that routine and practice day after day after day, when it comes to a meet, like tonight's dual meet for example, are you doing much coaching at the meet itself?
It depends. To be honest, I try not to. My ideal, to me, the best coach is someone who creates a totally independent performer or competitor. I mean, if they could go do it without me, do the meet without me, then I feel like I've accomplished coaching at the highest level. So for me, it's all about creating independence and making them their own coach.
Is that the same way at the championship meets as well? Same
Yes,
kind of application?
yes. Now, that's not to say that some people you can do that with. They're further along in that process. Other people, they're not quite as far along, and you may have to be more involved with them, during competitions. So, you have to look at each individual athlete, where they are in that process and what their individual needs are, and then try to do enough of that, get enough involved, but not overly involved.
Are there any examples of times that you feel like you might have failed as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, there are times when I've recognized after the fact that someone needed a little bit more coaching on the floor. Mm-hmm. That would probably be the best example. Like I say, I'm so into the creating independent, strong individuals that every once in a while I push that process a little bit and not there maybe as much as I should be for individuals.
When you're creating an individual athlete, is there a breaking in period where you're mentally pushing them to a point where sometimes they can go over the edge and feel failure mentally? Is that part of building an individual athlete?
Well, I mean, absolutely. Failure is something that we all have to learn to deal with, and we just try to help them see that as a part of the normal process and try to deal with that in a positive way. Try to identify the things that that led to that not being successful, to that failure, and trying to work on those things and change those things and see if you can be a little better next time, the next opportunity you have. So it's definitely a process, and like any process, sometimes you can feel like you're there, and you can backslide, and problems creep up that you've got to kind of go back to basics and kind of rework the process again.
Is that an approach that maybe you have to be a little bit more careful with girl athletes as opposed to maybe some of the male gymnasts that have you worked with male gymnasts? I guess I should ask first.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've worked with male athletes, and I do think that especially in gymnastics, the girls start so young, and many of them reach a high level so young, and they're very dependent on their coaches. And I think a lot of times men that I've worked with, they don't have that same kind of dependence, develop that same kind of dependence on their coaches like I think girls do. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the age thing. So yeah, a lot of times even when they come to college, they're used to being told everything, and so it is. For them, sometimes it's really hard if you throw it back in their lap and let them be in charge, and they can struggle with that initially, but ultimately they appreciate it, and especially this age athlete that I'm working with, because deep down inside they want that control at this age.